Hey guys, welcome back to the beginner guitar lesson series. In this video we are looking at adding accents to our strumming. So a nice, easy, simple, effective way to dress up our strum patterns. However, it is going to require us to think a little bit about physical control as we're playing, mainly with the pick, how much pressure we're applying to the strings, whether we're trying to accent, strum a little bit louder or strum a little bit softer, and the angles that we hold the pick to the strings, how much pressure we're actually squeezing the pick with. So lots of little variables that can come into play here, and these are great things to think about for playing in general. So if you can get it to happen here, it's going to cross over into other things that you are doing. So I think the most important factor there is going to be the amount of pressure that we hold the pick with. It's difficult to navigate that, but it's good to start thinking about it early on. So, initially you should use a pick that is a little bit thinner and has an easier time flexing through the strings, but this could be a good opportunity also to experiment with different picks, different sizes, different thicknesses, what have you. But in any case, you can just kind of go to different ends of the spectrum, hold it really tight and see how that influences you, hold it really loose, and try to figure out at what point the pick is going to get taken out of your fingers by the strings because you didn't hold it tight enough. So you can start to balance that out. But if you're getting really loud strumming and just really forceful strumming, no matter what you do, you're probably putting too much pressure on that pick. So the more you squeeze this and then try and strum, you're going to find it hard to get across the strings, okay? So that would be the main thing to focus on. The other things, like the angle of the pick, I think if you're naturally relaxed sitting with your guitar, the pick is not necessarily going to be completely perpendicular to those strings and will just kind of naturally be tilted as you relax and move your wrist and move from the elbow, and also get your fingers involved there too. But I wouldn't worry about trying to find the perfect angle or anything. As long as you're trying to find that optimal pressure to hold the pick with, you'll start to feel everything relax and you'll be able to get through the strings a lot easier and then start to create these different dynamics. And another thing to consider is how far my pick is going into the strings or how much contact I'm making with the strings. So that is something that can increase the volume or decrease the volume. If I want to play very soft, then I don't want to make a ton of contact with the strings. I'm just kind of hanging around that top plane of the strings. I'm not digging into them. But then if I want to increase that volume, then I'm going to start putting a little bit more pressure on the pick and then also digging into the strings a little bit more. And you can get a lot of variability that way. It can be very subtle, and the guitar is still going to ring out that way. And that's how we get that contrast of volume. So another thing to think about there also is how far that pick is sticking out of your fingers. You do not want it sticking out of your fingers like that because it will get taken away. So push the pick into your fingers. You want to choke up on it quite a bit, but this is also going to, obviously you're going to have more contact with the pick there, which is going to make it easier to squeeze harder and then get too aggressive of a sound if you happen to not want that. So choking up on the pick and then trying to deal with the pressure while having it pushed into your fingers like that, okay? So let's go back to our A minor chord, and what you can do is just strum down up constantly and try to change the volume by varying the pressure on the pick with your fingers and the pressure with the pick on the strings. So it doesn't have to be fast, right? And you're just thinking about getting a soft dynamic, and then let's start to increase it a little bit. So I'm digging into the strings a little bit more there. Don't have a ton of pressure on that pick. It's still able to flex in my fingers. Trying to keep everything else relaxed. Now I'm going to dig in a little bit more. There I really don't have a ton of pressure on the pick, but I am digging into the strings a little bit more, and that pick is getting positioned into the strings. louder strum. And I could go even louder than that. So that's a pretty wide range, dynamic range that we're going from where we started and where we ended up. And you can see there's just a ton of variability in that. But really we're just looking at being able to create some difference, have a soft strum, have a loud strum, and then we find it easier to implement accents. So like I said, that strum pattern that we are going to be using is accenting on 2 and 4. So let's jump into that. We're just going to do this really slow, okay? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we can really exaggerate it at this point just to make sure that we're kind of getting the groove locked into our memory, physical memory as well. And then we can start to speed that up. So guitar playing requires a certain amount of tension, and for anything that we do, like a heavier strum like that, that makes us use a little bit of tension, we just want to make sure that we relax immediately after that action is completed. Right? I don't want to go into that and then hold the tension, because then I'm just going to start doing that and bouncing off of the strings, okay? So it's really just something to experiment with, just play around with it. You know, you don't necessarily want it to be this, because that's going to be a little too aggressive, but that can help you to find what it is that you need to do. Okay? So something along the lines of this is, you know, as far as what we're setting up here is what we would be looking for. So those other strums are quite soft, right? Another way to think about this, when people initially hear accent or play louder, then they think, well, I just have to play much louder than what I normally play. But what we could do is just take our normal strum down, right, and play very soft, and then that accent we don't have to try so hard for. And that's, you know, those soft strums, that's plenty of volume. It's all about the contrast to create a sense of a groove, as opposed to this or this. Right, we're using both of those. And then you can start to implement that with different chords that you're comfortable moving around. It really adds a lot to the strum pattern. A lot of different ways that you can utilize it. We're only doing it one way here. Just come up with some things that you like, play around with the chord transitions, try to maintain that control in the right hand, and most of all, have fun. Let me know if you have any questions about that, guys. Be happy to answer them. See you in the next video. Thanks a lot.